Well, good afternoon. Goedenavond. I've had a couple of requests to do the top cab computer system, the Alicon. It's a Alicon 2 in the LTM 1750. So I've had a couple of requests to do a little run through of the top cab screens. The good thing about Liebers really is from the right hand screen is the same generically from a 30-ton Liebherr all the way up until this crane, even the 1200 to be honest. However, I will go through it. The left hand screen you won't find on anything lower than a 350, I believe. So if you are an operator yourself and you are watching this and you operate a bit of a smaller crane, the left hand screen a little bit more interesting, the right hand screen will be pretty much the same. However, if you don't drive cranes at all, this is a little insight to what information the screens relay basically. But first we'll fire it up and we'll put the heater on because it is absolutely freezing today. This is the configuration we're on at the moment. It is TY-V2EN, 63 meters of luffer with the X center on, and we have got 49 meters of boom out, 49.1 meters. So that's 392s tellied out. But we'll fire her up and we'll get cracking. We've had a new screen put in and it's really quick to load. It's fast. This used to take about 3 or 4 minutes to get to this screen, whereas now it only takes about 4 or 5 seconds. I'll go through this screen first actually, because this is a different, you won't find this on most of the smaller cranes, if any, to be honest. Normally when you start up you'll have all your jib length, all your jib configurations along here, and then you'll have your load chart here. So this doesn't have it. It's a different system. They've got it in the 650, and I don't think the 350 has it actually. I think the 350 is the old style, but it's similar. It's just you can do everything off here. So if you click the 2 double arrows, this brings up all your configurations that you can have on the crane. So obviously TN is just normal luffer, main boom luffer. That's what we're on now, TYVEM, and it gives you a little diagram of what we're on. So you got the X center and the luffer. Go down with the H on. That's actually the little rooster sheave that goes on the end, so you can have a whip line, but we don't actually have that on this crane. TYV2EN is the similar configuration, but before the X center we have a V2 extension, which is a 10 meter extension. That used to be quite a popular wind farm configuration, but now 750s and mainly wind farm installations now are like LGs and crawlers because the components are that big. So that's your configurations. You can do them all by entering the codes manually, but who can remember these codes, let's be honest. So that's your ballast screen there. If you go down, that's your winches, putting how many falls in. So we're on 2 falls at the minute, good for 28 ton. If we go back to this screen actually, and you go across, so that's saying, here we are. So you go across 3 times, and this is, so you have to, the crane doesn't know what length luffer you're on. The cable at the cat head is plugged into the root, but that doesn't know what you're on. So before you actually, once you put your TYVEN code in, you'll then have to go to this screen and tell it that you're on 63 meters of luffer. If you don't do that, it's very important. It needs to know that you're on the correct configuration. So you bang that in. So then you'd put your ballast in, your 204. That's what we're on, and then you can go across. That's your riggers. So we're on 12x12 full rig. 0% and 50 degrees is half rig. The percentages of the beams, see the beams, the white checkered beams, they can slide in and out. They can only be at 2 positions, full rig fully extended and fully retracted. They can't be half. It has got vario riggers, but the only thing vario about them, it's not the beams sliding in and out, it's the actual riggers moving in and out, if that makes sense. You can have that at any point, and that's vario riggers, but you can't have the beams. They have to be at full rig or half rig. So yeah, that's the main screen. Once you've got everything in, checked it all over, TYV in 45 degrees. The 45 degrees is the Y guy, so that's telling you that your Y guy arms will be at 45 degrees, which is what they're at now. Once you've checked all that over, bang the OK, and you will get this screen. It's actually windy at the moment. It's just tipping over. So we'll start off with the wind then. Obviously, so fairly straightforward. Wind speed, that's what you get in, and that's what you're good for on this configuration. We've got the eco mode. That is an absolute pain in the ass. I'll just fire it up. So the eco modes, it is good in a way. Basically, it'll disengage the pumps after a certain amount of time of inactivity, and basically once the pumps are disengaged, you can't operate the crane. It will not do anything. I'll give you a demonstration when the pumps knock off, but that's the pumps engaged now, so it goes yellow and you can hear a bit of a whirring sound, and it'll give me operation of the crane. I can do whatever I want with the crane. And I'll show you what happens when it goes to green and the pumps disengage. It won't let you, if you touch the levers or anything, you'll just get an error code basically. To re-engage the pumps, you just have to press the accelerator. Very annoying when you're on a lift and they disengage and you've been sat there for a while and you forget, and the banksman comes over the radio and is like, all right, drive down on your line, and you go down on your line and you realise you get the error code because the pumps have disengaged and you've got to press the accelerator. Very annoying, but it saves on fuel. Obviously you got your revs, pretty self-explanatory, and then you've got your LMI, basically your capacity indicator. So this is telling you as you're approaching 90%, it'll go amber, and then you go to 100 and the crane will cut out, sort of thing. This is your slew. So we've got the speeds turned up to 100. When you're on luffer, the crane automatically slows everything down anyway, but it stays on 100. That's what degrees we're on at the slew at the moment, and this is the little icon for your slew pin. So once you're over the back or the front directly, you can put the slew pin in, and that's what you need to do if you're ever moving rigged, or you're packing it up to travel down the road and leaving it at night. We'll bang the slew pin in and things like that. That icon goes down and it locks in, and it'll tell you that the slew pin is engaged. Right hand side, we've got, this is what the max you're good for. That number is only 28.3 because we've got 2 falls on, and that's the max amount of line pull. So even if I jib this right, even if I luff this all the way back now to my minimum, that will always stay at 28.3. The only time it'll go down is if I luff down and increase the radius by quite a lot. It will go down eventually. The next one is what we've got on the hook at the moment, 3.7 ton. Next one is your radius, so, and the boom angle, main boom angle. So these icons change because we're on luffer. We've got the little fly jib icon, but we're at 48 meters, 42 meters at the moment radius, and our jib angle is at 84.4. Well, fluctuating a tiny little bit in the wind. This year, the jib angle is very important on luffer. Working jib angle at the minute with, but you can actually go down to 66. They call it a floating tower. So as well as luffing down, you can boom down, and it will give you a duty. Next one is your telly screen. So that's this jib length we've got on. The boom length 49.1. It's 392s. This is, I got this wrong on a video that I did for Mammut itself actually, and I said hook height. It's not actually hook height. I did correct myself in the comments, but I fumbled a little bit on the video, as I probably will do on this one. But that is the head height. So the top of your head of the crane, that is the height from there to the ground. That changes obviously when you luff up and luff down. Like if I start luffing up now, it should change. Yep, see how it's changing because the luffers going up. It's getting higher essentially. Moving on, we have these here winches. So winch 1 is the main hoist rope, and winch 3 is your luffer, which you can't really see on that screen. That's your main hoist rope, that's your luffer. This is a super lift drum, A and B. The next one is your tellying. So what you're good for, like if you're ever got like tellying duties basically. So when you have a load on and you're tellying in and out, this will tell you what you're good for basically. This icon here is basically your information for your riggers. So we're all at 100% on the beams, the back are out at 50 and the front are out at 44. That is full rig. The back, it's not 50-50, they only come out to 44, they only come out to 50. You know it's all fully rigged because it's all green, and these are all your rigger pressures on each rigger. That fluctuates as you slew. You slew the machine, you'll see that, I'll just slew the crane now, and you'll just see that that 1, 2, 3 will just start to change as the ballast comes away from the rigger. Starting to go up there. And the other one, number 3, is starting to come down a little bit. So they fluctuate as your ballast goes over each rigger basically. One above that is your level. We're fairly decently level there. However, you will find that most times, because the ballast's on the back, you're probably 0.3 or 0.4 of a degree out. And then once you get some weight on the hook, then you become level sort of thing. That's normal. So that is really the right hand screen boxed off, to be honest. We have got a duty chart on here as well. Now this has been changed. It was different in the old crane, and I'm still trying to get to grips with it myself, but this is basically telling you everything you need to know, and you get like a good graph of telling you what you're dropping off at. So you can just you can just drop down and notice how it says 84, 76, 66. This is your tower angle. So they're all the same duty, 92, 92, 92. Same length, but this is just a different tower angle. And this gives you, this is what I was on about with the leaning tower. But you will get a duty in between 84 and 76 as well. It's just when you get to 76, that'll be your best duty at that leaning tower, if that makes sense. But that's pretty self-explanatory. It's just a good bit of information rather than jumping down and getting into the book. We've got it all here in front of us basically. If you press F, you get lift planning. Not really played around with it too much, lift planning, if I'm honest. But basically the long and short of it is, I now can control the crane, but on the screen. So I'm slewing, and it's slewing it on the screen, so you can plan lifts with it. I've never really used it. I've never really had a play around with it, to be honest. But I'm assuming it could be a good bit of kit. It's just I've never really tickled with it. Telescreen, pretty self-explanatory. Press what you need and away you go basically. It's always in auto. You can do manual tellying in and out to get you out of tricky spots and stuff, but that's for another day. I can't really do that while that's for another day. Rigger screen, it's telling you your max and minimums that you can change for when it starts flashing and stuff. And you've got your slew restrictor screen, so whenever you go on like rail jobs and stuff, they tend to want you to have a slew restrictor in, which it restricts your slew. So it stops you from, if you put a slew restrictor in where I am now, and then put another one in 180 degrees to the left, and you've got them 2 points there, and then that is from that point to that point, that's the only place you can slew. And as soon as you get to that limit, it'll slow you down first, and then as soon as you get to the limit, it will stop and cut you out completely. They tend to like to have them on railways just so you don't accidentally slew over a live railway, basically. But yeah, that's the right screen. Moving on to the left, the eco mode's still in, the pumps are still engaged, still got full operation of the crane so far. But here on the left, right, so fairly straightforward to be honest. It looks, if you've never been in cranes or anything like that, it looks like a lot of information. However, it really isn't that bad. Now the top one, your pressure for your telly ram, it's at 0 at the minute because obviously we're not tellying in and out. But as you start tellying, this goes up, and it just tells you that, well, basically the information that everything's going all right. If you start coming up into the hundreds, you've got issues, you've got problems. You're tellying out, you might have too much, if you're doing telly duties, you might have too much on the hook, and it won't, the crane doesn't like it basically, so it will tell you. One down from that is the F1 pressure. Now, the F1 is basically them 2 rams there. So they've got load cells in them, and this tells you the capacity of what they are. So it's good, gives you good information on the F1 when you're rigging. So when you're adding, when you've got the crane boom down and you're adding weight to the front of the crane, you're adding weight to the cathead, you will see this F1 pressure rising, because obviously you're adding more weight to the rams. It just gives you a good indication when you're adding weight to the crane that you're not overloading the 2 main rams really when it's boomed down. The one F2, the F2 is similar, however it's a load cell in the luffer that comes from the like, if you want to call it the first mast, I'd call the first mast the back one, and then that the second mast. So it comes from the second mast. It's on one of the tie bars right at the top. So this gives you a tonnage as well, which is what we're pulling, and this is a brilliant tool for when you're rigging the crane and also when you're piking it up and down, because there's a maximum tonnage that you can have whilst piking up, and it gives you a pressure when you're on the rigging pin as well. So you can fly on TYVEN, you can fly 35 meters of jib and the pin will hold it, and it'll tell you on the F2. But if you go over that, you're going to start seeing some issues with that. Oh, the pumps are about to disengage. It's going to go shortly. There you go. So that's knocked it back down now. So basically the engine's on tick over, but if I go to hoist down or anything, nothing will happen, and you'll get an error code there. And to engage the pumps again, all you have to do is flicker the accelerator and the back on. Seems trivial, but when you sat there doing nothing for 10 minutes and you forget, and then they ask you to do a motion and then you realise that the pumps aren't engaged, it gets very annoying. Anyways, back to the left hand screen. So these are the bars for your pressures in your B side and A side for the Y guy when they're tensioning. You find on luffer when they're tension, they do get quite high to like 50 and then come back down very slowly, so you've got a lot of cable out. But that's all that information is basically. The box on the right here tells you what you would be good for if you weren't tensioned. So you had the Y guy on but you weren't tensioned, you'd be good for 10 ton. Rather than with tension, we're good for 28.3. Going down again to the left, this means that we have tensioned and it is successful and we are okay and everything's gone right. That is the tension button. Press F1 and it will tension it. Next one is the locking symbol. So that's telling me that the Y guy is locked. It's locked and it's tensioned, and to unlock it, you press F2. Next box is your A side and your B side, what degree that your arms are at, pretty self-explanatory. However, this changes this degree, so on luffer you'll be on 45. Main boom, superlift, it's main boom Y guy has a duty for 35 degrees or 10 degrees. 10 degrees is very slightly better, so we always have it on main boom 10 degrees. So when you're on main boom, you will tally it out at 0. Once you've tallied out to your desired jib length, you would then wire it out to 10 degrees and hit tension, bash, you'd be sound. Notice that the numbers aren't exactly, but we can't get, that won't go to 45 for some reason, but because it doesn't flash. If it stays a solid number, you're good to go. Next one, an F3 and F4 is obviously moving your arms out and moving your arms in. F5, similar sort of thing, but it's moving the arms vertically up and vertically down. If you want to stand it up and stand it down, drop it down, sorry. That's telling us that the arms are fully stood up. So it's giving us the signal that we're good to go, it's stood up. The next two icons that are side by side there are when you're actually attaching the Y-guide, you will use, you actually use the joysticks. I will do a video eventually of a POV of putting the Y-guide on from the cab. So you press, you have it on both joysticks basically, and you come up and down on the cables. And this just tells you the A and B. It just switches to A and B basically. Auto means that the arms are on auto, so once you've tallied out, it'll actually flick to 10 degrees. If you don't have it on auto, you've got to do it manually. We just have it on auto because it's just easier. And the other one is for errors and to, if it's ever beeping at you like this is, you do it on this side, you can press that and the beeping goes off. But then once it goes back down, see what I mean? It's a nightmare. But that's the error screen as well. Once you get an error up, you press that, F8, and it'll bring the errors up. That's to netto your hook, so it'll go from 3.7 to 0. There you go. So if you didn't want to add the rigging and the hook block and stuff, and you just wanted the sole weight of what you were lifting without the rigging and the hook block and everything, you didn't want to work it out, you bang the netto on and it will give you it at 0. Other than that, I don't think I've missed anything out there. But yeah, it might be a bit of a long drawn out video, I do apologise, but I had a couple of requests for people to see it, and I thought, yeah, why not, let's go for it. Do let me know in the comments if you want to see anything else, because I'm open to suggestions and I enjoy showing people what we do, and it's a very interesting profession and career, and I really do enjoy showing people, especially people that don't actually do it. It's good to share it with other operators and stuff, but the people that don't actually do this as a job and never had an insight into what it takes and what it entails, I really do enjoy doing it. So thank you for the support, I appreciate it a lot, and drop it in the comments if you want whatever you want to see, any suggestions, greatly appreciate it. Hope everyone has a cracking week, and a cracking weekend actually, and I will see thee.